skepticism. The prophecies of the Prophet, peace be upon him, will still satisfy you. But there is one condition.
Well, except you have to disregard
no.
science.
There
and
is
say,
one
oh,
condition.
Don't worry about
There is
science.
one- there
just
is
ignore
one-
it.
no,
That's what you're telling people to
Sir,
do.
I'll answer your science question next, don't worry. But one thing which is missing is this. If your heart does not want to recognize God, you will not see any signs of God. All you'll see is the opposite of God. All you'll see is evidence against the existence of God and against the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. But if you have a heart that is sincere, you will see the evidence for what it is, and it is evidence which is objective. Now when it comes to science, sir, when it comes to science, science is something which is misunderstood. Science, we believe today, in today's popular culture, is something which gives us certainty, which is the only root of knowledge. Let me ask you this, you're talking about science as the root of knowledge. Can science explain to us how mathematics works?
No.
Can science explain to us how logic works?
We know how
Sir,
mathematics and logic works from their own,
Yes,
fields.
yes, logic is independent of science.
Yes.
Does science tell us whether testimony is valid or not?
Whether what?
Testimony.
No. Well, it depends on if there's a claim that's made that's scientific. Then obviously we can.
So, okay, let me ask
check that.
Let me ask you a question. Do you believe in Genghis Khan?
Do I believe? Yes.
Yes. Okay. Have you met Genghis Khan?
No.
Have you seen his grave?
No.
He's
How
a
do you know
Muslim.
he existed?
He's a Muslim.
What?
He's a
How do you know
Muslim.
he existed?
I know because it's the
He's a
reasonable
Muslim.
conclusion
He's
from
a
the
Muslim.
evidence of
He's a
historical
Muslim.
records. Yeah, it's a reasonable conclusion
He's
from
a
the fact that
Muslim.
there are historical
He's
records
a
to
fucking
support it.
Muslim.
Are you drunk, mate?
He's a fucking, yeah. Shut up. Shut your mouth. He's a fucking Muslim.
It's a reasonable conclusion from the
Well, I'm
evidence
not
of
a bother.
from the historical evidence that you believe in.
He's a drunk, 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 he's a drunk.
Historical evidence is not scientific.
He's a Muslim.
So science
Fuck are you?
is something
Fuck
which cannot
you.
explain logic,
Fuck
cannot
you.
explain mathematics, cannot
Fuck
explain
you.
testimony, and it cannot
Fuck
explain
you.
the vast majority of our sources of knowledge.
But it's the best way to check claims that are made about. It's the best way to check claims that are made about how the universal biology works. And so, if someone makes a claim that reproduction, passing on of hereditary traits works this way, the best way to test that is with science. And if you find that science, all the scientific evidence shows that in fact it's via genes, not determined by who orgasms first, then you should have little confidence in the claim which says that it is
Unless-
due to orgasming or things like that.
I agree with you totally, sir. Unless you have independent evidence which gives you reasons to believe the other claim.
Well, it would have to outweigh kind of all this science.
Exactly. So now we're talking about epistemic weighing.
Yes.
So hypothetically, if there is a book which has 5 predictions which are, according to you, precise, say it's not the Quran, and this book contradicts, say, something which is a consensus in science, but this book you have verified has 5 prophecies which are fulfilled, does that mean you can say this book is wrong because of this one conclusion?
If the claims made in the book are less impressive than the glaring error, or have less, if the impressiveness, the unusualness, the power of that claim within the book isn't able to outweigh kind of the weight of evidence that suggests that this claim about a reproduction is false, then no, you wouldn't accept
But
it.
what if it does?
If it did, then yes, you would.
That's the point. So the point, conceptually we agree. Now it's about content. Conceptually we agree. If there's a book which makes predictions which are extraordinary predictions, which are falsifiable, which are precise, which are time-bound, whatever, smart as they say. Now if you have that and you have a consensus, then you cannot say the book is wrong because of consensus conceptually.
Well, you wouldn't. Let's not call it just consensus. It's consensus based on all the possible evidence.
Whatever you want.
Genetics
Whatever
right
you
now.
want. Whatever you want. Okay, now we have this. So conceptually we agree. Now here's the thing. Only 60 years ago, 70 years ago, the scientific consensus was the universe was eternal. Even Einstein...
No, there wasn't a consensus at that point.
Of course there was.
No, people didn't know. People thought maybe the universe existed, maybe it didn't. There wouldn't be any evidence for or against.
We're talking about physicists. Physicists believed in the static state model.
Well,
That
that was like, the most popular model. It doesn't mean it was like a consensus model. There wouldn't be any evidence.
Sir, give me. Sir, no, sir. Okay, put
No,
this straight.
it's not.
Sir, give me a model of the universe prior to the Big Bang model. We're not talking about ancient Greece. Let's talk about the last 400-500 years. A model in physics which said the universe had a beginning other than the Big Bang.
Okay, so it's not so having a model and calling it and like a proposed mechanism for the universe's creation. There wasn't a proposed mechanism, but there's still like physicists wouldn't. Oh, we agree that yes, the universe is like eternal. I don't accept that because
the static state model was the prevailing model of the universe, just like Big Bang is today.
But like to say that there's a consensus, like you'd expect maybe 70% of the physicists to sign their signature to say.
What's the prevailing model today?
The prevailing model is the Big Bang.
Fantastic. Was the prevailing model in the 1930s?
Like the most popular one would. Well, like the thing is.
Sir, you gave me a very simple answer about the Big Bang. Was the prevailing model in the 1930s?
No, like the degree of subscription to the steady state model does not compare to the rate of subscription to the Big Bang now. So don't compare them. It was a less supported model.
So if we go down that road, me and you, we're going to completely get lost because me and you, we don't have access to those statistics. So I'm asking you a more general question.
Well, I think you could ask a historian of science and they'd probably be able to give you an answer.
Well, they won't give me. There were 55 people who agreed and 60
No, but they'd have like proxy indicators and reasons to believe in that. Yeah, we are getting past that. I think that's something that we could like check and fact check later.
So let's go to something more basic. What's the prevailing model?
What?
What's the prevailing model?
What is it now?
What was it? What is it now? You already said the Big Bang.
Yeah.
What was it then?
There wasn't necessarily one.
There was one.
Well, like the most popular one was the steady state, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that there was like a consensus on it though, or that the amount of belief in the steady state model matches the amount of belief in the Big Bang now.
Sir, every single scientific model, when we say there is a consensus, in a popular culture that means 100% subscription. Academically, we all understand that's not true. Even the Big Bang model today is challenged by some who believe in the eternal universe, right?
Yeah.
So here's the point. The Quran says the universe has a beginning. Before 1950s, the Quran was against that model of the universe, which was the prevailing theory. But I, as a Muslim in the 1950s, I would have said, I accept the steady state model as a valid model. I accept even Einstein accommodated it in his general theory of relativity. I accept all of the facts that majority of the scientists believed in it. I accept that. But
there wasn't any actual evidence
I will
for
not
the steady state
believe
model.
that it's absolutely true. I will simply say it's a working model.
No, but that's different from that compared with genetics.
Conceptually, we don't disagree. Now it's about content.
Yeah.
Conceptually, we're on the same page about epistemic weighing. So back to the prophecies. Tell me, if there was one prophecy that according to you, you would believe in, what would it be? Give me a criteria.
Well, like, can we talk? How about the claim that like the
No. I want you to give me a criteria. That's what I want. Forget content.
Okay.
Tell me, you want something to be time bound. You want something to be unpredictable. For example, Mormon religion. Who's the guy? Mormon religion. Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith. What did he say? He said the American North and South, they're going to go to war. 50 years before they went to war. But the problem with that is that was predictable because politicians, even before him, were saying the North and South are going to go to war. But here's the mistake he made. The Mormons, they use it as evidence that he's a prophet of God because he made a prediction which came true, even though the prediction was predictable. And people were saying this before him. However, he made the mistake of adding to the prediction. He said the North and the South are going to go to war, and then the rest of the world is going to join in, and it's going to be a global war, which it never was, right? So that's a false prophecy. I want you to give me, according to you, a criteria that's going to please you, which is, say, I'm going to give you the first one, something which is time-bound, right? Something which is unpredictable. Tell me something else. What other criteria is going to fulfill you?
Like what would be a prophecy which, if it came true,
Not
that
prophecy,
I definitely believe
give
in?
me a criteria. Unpredictable and time-bound. What else?
Unpredictable, time-bound.
Take your time.
That's probably Can you think of any others? I think that's probably pretty good.
That's quite good.
Yeah.
Try and see if you can think of something else.
Okay, so another kind of like the thing is though that anytime that there's a kind of something that scientifically contradicts the Quran or a prophecy in the Hadith, that just gives us more reason not to believe in it. Like we just take the evidence as.
We already did that. Let's go by this. You said two things: time bound and unpredictable.
Yes, but like I'm sure you might be able to find a prophecy which is quite unlikely. But like we already agreed before, if someone like makes some kind of good prophecies, but also makes kind of some nonsense prophecies, that isn't good. That isn't impressive.
I totally agreed with that, which is why we had the previous conversation.
Yeah.
If someone,
if you're about to give me another kind of,
but sir, don't conflate unfulfilled with falsified, and I think that's something that you're doing.
Well, unless we like want to, totally throw out kind of biology and genetics. Then
we're not challenging that.
No, you are, because like you're drawing a parallel between believing in the Big Bang and how physicists, there used to be a popular opinion that maybe there was a steady state model. Like thinking about the origins of the universe is inherently an extremely speculative part of science. Like you can't test that very easily at all, but you can test genetics.
Sir, evolutionary biology is also speculative. It's probabilistic.
Well, okay, but I'm not talking about evolutionary biology here. I'm talking about genetics.
Sir, okay.
I'm talking about development.
Sir, that is evolutionary biology. Genetics is evolutionary biology.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, you don't need to subscribe to the tree of life in order to believe in genetics. And genetics alone and development and physiology, those contradict this claim that like whether a man takes after his mother or his father depends on whether the mother or the father orgasms first.
Sir,
that's such a laughable claim.
The thing is, sir, you have some misconceptions about the way science works. What you said is that you don't need to subscribe to the tree of life to take the conclusions of genetics.
Yes.
Right. But sir, isn't it also true that you don't need to subscribe to the tree of life, you can subscribe to the web of life to actually take the conclusion of genetics too?
Yeah.
And the web of life is evolutionary biology?
Well, I thought when you said like evolutionary biology, I thought you were talking to like, I thought you were referring to kind of everyone having a single common ancestor.
Yeah, but that's one model.
Yeah, I agree. But what I was saying was that you don't need to believe in a web of life or a tree of life. You don't need to like subscribe like to one or the other to believe that kind of it's genes which kind of confer the information
genetics
and determine.
Genetics is inseparable from evolutionary biology.
What? No, not really.
Of course it is.
No, like under creationism, even if I was like a young Earth creationist, I could still believe in genetics.
Yeah, but look, the thing is, you did.
I don't need to believe in that.
Hang on, you're giving an example to defend yourself. You're giving young Earth creationism. But they are the very people that atheists and agnostics like yourself attack, because they have a polarization where they accept parts of science and reject others. So those are not the people you want to marry yourself with.
I'm not marrying myself with them. I'm showing you that kind of you're trying to like cast doubt on genetics by saying by conflating genetics with evolution.
I'm not casting doubt. I'm accepting all of his conclusions. I just take the conclusions.
But you just think that but it's going to be wrong in the future for some like unfathomable kind of magic evidence.
Look, conceptually, let me break it down, and you challenge me if I'm wrong. We have evolutionary biology as a model theory paradigm.
What are the claims of that?
Okay, 1 second.
When you use the terms,
I'm about to make one. Which basically means our biochemistry, our genetics, our anatomy, our psychology, our linguistics, biogeography, the fossil record, all converges together to have a sort of tree of life, which is to explain the history of life on Earth. That is the grand idea. That is the field. So when we're speaking about genetics, you can't separate it from evolutionary biology. You can't.
Yeah. Let me explain. So genetics makes the claims that.
Do you know the most frequently used definition of evolution is the change in gene frequencies?
Yes.
Genetics.
Yeah.
This is inseparable.
No, but like a geneticist could, like, let's suppose that I am a young Earth creationist who works in genetics. I would then believe that God kind of put us on 5,000 years ago, and he created these fake, false fossils in the ground to tempt us. but our genes like pass on the information of whether I will have red hair or blue eyes or all these sorts of things, and that it's these genes which are passed on in the egg and the spermatozoa, which then like determine whether the child will resemble the mother or the father. At no point have I necessarily taken like the tree of life as a fact, so I don't need to accept it.
So the tree of life, you can have an evolutionary model without it. So it's not about the tree of life.
Yeah, so you don't need it for genetics.
But sir, the reason why I'm correcting this misunderstanding is, this misunderstanding of yours shows that you're using something to challenge, say, prophecies, which you don't fundamentally understand.
Okay, try explaining that then. Try elaborating.
So you're saying genetics can be separated from evolutionary biology.
Yes.
And the way that you're defending yourself is using young Earth creationism.
No, I'm not. No, no. What I'm saying is that kind of one can believe in genetics without necessarily believing that there is a tree of life.
Yeah, that I agree with you.
Okay.
I don't disagree. But that you can still have, you have to have evolutionary theory in there. You can't have genetics without evolutionary theory.
Okay, so but like. It depends about which. Okay, so maybe we're talking about cross purposes here. Like, I would agree that if you believe in genetics, then you'd have to believe that populations' gene frequencies change over time.
That's my point.
Okay. If that was all that you meant, then I apologize. I thought you meant like evolutionary theory. I thought you meant one universal common ancestor or something like that.
Like you know, sir, there's many different models.
Okay.
You can have multiple origins, the Markian type, multiple parallel lines of evolution, and so on and so forth. Now, here's the point. Evolutionary biology today, let's forget something in the past, or let's forget something in a population. Let's just look at something simple. Your body is made up of proteins. Proteins fold and their shape has an impact. We today do not understand how and why some proteins fold. It happens before our very eyes.
Well, we sort of understand it. We know that it would have to be due to electrostatic attractions and whether one part of the molecule has electron density and whether another part of the molecule has, relative positivity, and then they'd be attracted to each other. So we know kind of what forces would be causing it. We just can't predict it with a computer model. But we can predict some.
I'm making a different claim now. The claim I'm making is, with all our technology today, something which happens before our very eyes is still something which we struggle to grasp.
What is that thing?
Protein folding. Some protein folding till today, we don't understand the exact mechanisms.
No, but that's just because it's a difficult thing to model.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I'm trying to get to is this.
That doesn't mean that
when we are speaking about ideas which are big, like the creation of the universe, or the beginning of life, or abiogenesis, or all these things, yet something before our very eyes we don't fully grasp. No, so we need to be a bit humble with our conclusions in science.
No, that's a very bizarre way of thinking. Because,
Why?
Well, because so when a protein folds, what you're trying to predict is a protein is a series of amino acids, and basically a molecule is constantly wiggling around and it's rotating about its axes, and it'll do some sort of conformations, and then it'll do some internal bonds like disulfide bridges, for example, or these other well-modeled kind of alpha spirals or beta-pleated sheets, those sorts of things. And so it's hard to study it because kind of a complicated molecule requires a lot of computing power to create a molecule which you put into some sort of software like Hyperchem.
Sure.
And so that's a tricky thing to do because it requires so much computing power, and a slight bit of inaccuracy will eventually manifest itself into a poor prediction.
The main point which I was making still stands, that science as a field, we need to be humble with these conclusions, because things which are in front of our very eyes we can't understand. Now I don't know why we got distracted.
That's a really weird thing to say. That's not something that any kind of any person who has actually worked in protein synthesis or that sort of thing, they'd never say, oh well, I have a hard time modeling how insulin folds, or not insulin, sorry, I have a hard time modeling how this particular protein folds. But like because of that, I see like I don't see a reason to reject a claim that kind of orgasming can have an effect in hereditary.
Sir, that wasn't the claim I was making.
Well, like, I think you're casting doubt via that kind of mechanism.
I don't know how we got distracted from this, maybe because I was fasting, but two criteria which you said.
Yeah.
Unpredictable and time bound.
Right, but like we've already...
One second, I'm about to give you a prophecy.
Yeah.
In the Quran, and anything that's from the Quran is from the Quran. It's from the Prophet, peace be upon him. It mentions the Romans have been defeated in a nearby land.
Within 3 to 9
After their
years.
defeat, they will be victorious. Let me read it again. Within 3 to 9 years, the whole matter rests with Allah before and after victory. On that day, the believers will rejoice. Now, let me just give you the history here. The Roman Empire, and this is the previous prophecy that I began off with, was when the Muslims were in Medina. This is a prophecy from Makkah, before the Muslims had the Battle of the Trench. At that time, this prophecy, it says that the Persians had defeated the Romans, and that had been happening all across the area because the Romans were taking a battering. The Quran said that after this, if it was something which is predictable, the Quran should have said the Persians will be overrun or the Persians are going to keep losing. The Quran says they are going to reverse their defeat with a victory within 3 to 9 years. Now a friend of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, his name was Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. What did he do? He was having a dialogue with a pagan. And he actually, although in Islam it's not allowed anymore to bet, he actually put out a wager, a bet, that within this period this is going to happen. Because the Quran made a prediction which was time bound. So the bet that was done between Abu Bakr and the pagan was based upon time. So I know what you're going to say next, which is, yeah, this prophecy may be time-bound and unpredictable, but what about the others?
Well, but also it's still not an incredibly impressive prediction because there have been many human commentators who have predicted when a war will end and who the victor will be. You don't necessarily need divine knowledge in order to make a prediction like that.
Sure, sir. If you can find, at that time, if you can find a Christian historian or Persian historian who says that after the Persians were giving the Romans a battering, within 3 to 9 years, roughly, there'll be a reverse, then I agree with you that prophecy we should throw out. But that's if you manage to find someone. Because it was unpredictable, and by the way, there's a good time to plug a book. We have a book coming out called The Forbidden Prophecies. In this book, it has historians which mention about the state of affairs between the Romans and the Persians at that time. This is an unpredictable prophecy which is time-bound. Now coming back to the original point, which is about conceptually. What I want to end upon is that what I began off about was there's two things why Islam is true. There is objective evidence and there is personal interaction between you and the Creator, which is of a spiritual nature. I want to ask you a question. If you right now, you go home, say tonight and it's dark, and you pray to God to guide you and show you the truth, and you see the stars realigning to say there is none worthy of worship except Allah and Muhammad is his messenger, would you make your life's goal to worship God?
I would accept like a great deal of the validity within Islam.
Okay. If you conceptually accept that, then I want to make a claim, which is between me and you. If you sincerely ask God for guidance, He will give you signs in your life which are personal to you, which may not make sense to anyone else, but which will be as crystal clear as the stars realigning to say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.
That's sentimental and emotional.
Sir, but we human beings are emotional. We're driven by emotion.